Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, I have my mic with me in Greece. I'm sitting in our beautiful hotel room. Jules and I have gone on a little couple of days getaway without the kids, and you must be thinking, why the hell is she podcasting? Well, I had an urge to. So while Jules is out there enjoying our pool that I can see from a distance and looking out onto the ocean and reading his Kindle, I am talking to all of you. This is what happens when you are a passionate podcaster. And Jules is actually pretty happy to have his own time. So bless him out there. I am going to drag him on the mic for our 150th episode because, as you all know, on our special episodes, I love to bring my hubby on. He isn't much of a podcaster, doesn't even listen to them, let alone, and always needs his arm sort of twisted a little to be on the pod with me. But let's just say I am very convincing, and I do like to bring him on because, he's the man behind all of this. As much as he doesn't podcast per se, he certainly supports me a hell of a lot to be able to do what I'm doing, which I love. So I'm so excited to bring you this episode. I thought I'll get really practical for this little series that I'm doing from Greece. For those of you who have been listening, I was also in America. This is our Parenthood on Tour series, and I was bringing you some insights from the US. Now we're in Greece, and I'm going to get really practical around what are some of the key things I would recommend to any of you traveling with your children. And so you'll hear a lot of that in the upcoming episodes that we have. The other thing I will mention is that we've gone a bit rogue. This is not our normal format of interviews and real talk and things like that. When I am back in Australia, we'll be bringing those back to your ears. And these are actually unedited episodes as well. So you get the real deal and you get to hear when I stuff up, which is just delightful. So what I want to start with, I think what could be quite helpful in this little mini app is giving you some intel around what I did when it came to packing for going overseas with children, and also how I prepared our kids. And it probably sounds like, what do you mean prepared your children? But actually, let's start there because I did do a shout out to our community on Insta. We've got a whole heap of questions that came through, and so thank you for those who took the time to write them. And what I've done is I've sort of separated them out into sort of different topics in which we'll explore in the upcoming episodes. So one of the questions was, came through as a DM. They said, look, I'm traveling with my children in the coming months. We're going to India. How did you prepare your kids for travel, right? Like, it's a big thing, particularly for those of you who, like myself, who live in Australia. I mean, we basically live on the other side of the world from anywhere else. So it's always quite the journey when we are leaving the country. So I actually thought that was an excellent question, and I want to start there. I did prepare our children. It's not like I sort of just dragged them on a plane on this 24-hour journey. Actually, it was longer because then once we arrived in Greece, we then had to do a 4-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive to our final destination. So it's not like I just sort of woke up one day and we're like, we're going on an aeroplane. I'd actually told them weeks prior. I told them, and I should mention for context, I have a 4 and 5 year old. I said, obviously, we're going to Greece. Greece is very far away, and they have been before. I've traveled with my children a fair bit from the day they were, not the day they were born, but Noah was 6 months old when he came to Greece and we got married here. So I've experienced the whole realm of traveling with baby, with toddler, and now with 4 and 5 year olds. And so I this time around said to them, look, Greece, it's going to be amazing, but it is a long journey. We've got 2 planes, okay? So on these aeroplanes, we're on there for a very long time. It's not going to be like when we go to Queensland. Like, this is a very long time. And we're going to get you changing your pajamas at one point, and you're going to have a really good sleep for us. And when you wake up, we still might not be there. And then when we get off the first plane, we have to go through an airport and we have to be very calm. And we're going to we're going to wait for the next plane. Then we're going to get on the next plane. Then we might see if we can have a little sleep on that next plane. And so it's a long journey. But when we get there, it's going to be amazing because we're going to be in a different country. Like, how cool is that? And so every time I'd sort of mention, we'd talk about the trip and how excited we were, and they would say, "Oh, yeah, we're going on this planes for a very long time." And look, the reason why I said that was to prepare them because, as I mentioned, my littlest Charlie, although he has traveled international before, doesn't remember it. So it was almost for his benefit. Whereas my 5-year-old was like, "No, no, I remember we went for a long time on an aeroplane." I find with my children, setting those expectations is critical. Not to say that they're always going to, behave in which the way in which I would expect or hope for, but certainly at least I feel like they're going into a situation feeling like, okay, we've been worded up about this, we have some idea as to what's going on, and now it's my choice as to how I'm going to behave when I'm in that situation, right? So, look, that would probably be a good tip because what ended up happening was they were actually excellent for the flight, and I'll go into the flight and everything you need to know about flying in our next mini episode that we do. But look, that preparation for the children and reiterating the message that we're going to go for a period of time, blah, 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 I found extremely helpful. I'm going to answer another question. So we had someone saying, how did you actually, for the actual flight itself, were there items that you couldn't live without? So, and then another one came in about, how did you even organize like your carry-on luggage? Now, I was actually quite stressed about the carry-on because, as you know, you're planning, for us, it was a summer trip away. I throw all the t-shirts and the shorts in and the bathers, and I have my, swimmers and everything, and I pop them all in the big bags. But then it's like, I don't want to be carrying a whole heap of little bags with me on the plane. This was the first year that we weren't taking a travel cot with us. So, sorry, not a travel cot, a travel pram with us. So we weren't able to, I knew I'd be holding the children's hands as we're walking through airports. So, for me, the carry-on luggage and making sure I was really all over it with the items that I was bringing along with me was critical. So I want to start there. So obviously, there was a lot of items that, we packed for a summer holiday, but certainly from a travel carry-on perspective, I had some change of clothes. So I literally had, I think for each of the boys, and again, this was a 2-flight journey, 24-hour plus additional 4-hour drive. I had about 3 changes of clothes. And when I say that, I mean, and I'd sorted them in these little bags so that someone gave me this really great tip a few years ago. Make it really, what you've got, make it really accessible and easy to get out of your bag. Because you know what it's like, you're sitting on an airplane, it's dark, for example, and you're sifting through your bags trying to find that one pair of undies that you need for the kids, and it's right down the bottom, and and you can't see, and you've got half the stuff sitting on the seat, that's meant to be in your suitcase, and it's just a mess. So someone said to me, make sure that when you're packing, consider packing small little, packages of items. So I did that. So each little change of clothes bag that I had a pair of undies, had a pair of shorts, had a t-shirt, had a long sleeve top, because sometimes planes are a little bit cooler, and I sort of put them together, and I sort of I believe I put them in like a little plastic kind of, bag that was, so therefore, if I'm sitting on the plane, I'm like, great. For example, we had Noah who decided he was going to throw up the whole way to Greece, which was just delightful. We had vomit on us a number of times on the plane. So as soon as that's happened, I've gone to get my carry-on luggage, and I've reached my hand in, and the plane is pitch black, and I pull out one of my plastic bags, and I look and I say, oh, yep, no, that's Charlie's change, put that back in, grab the next plastic bag, yep, got Noah's change of clothes, right, straight to the bathrooms. Like, it was just, and then we go to the bathrooms, I unwrap that little plastic bag, it has a full change of clothes with me, I get him changed, I put his messy clothes in the plastic bag that I had, and then I pop it straight into the overhead compartment in the plane. So it really accelerated the process and minimized the stress because I was so organized with that. So I certainly would recommend a number of changes of clothes with those items in it. That was an absolute savior for us. The next time we used them, for example, was when we stopped. We stopped in Daho. No, oh my God, I'm making things up. Doha. I can't believe I said Daho. I'm like, You could have a chuckle because these don't get edited, so you could, reap the benefits of my mishaps as I speak. But Doha, and we had showers there. We were fortunate that we had lounge access, so we had showers and things. And then I just pulled out. I gave Jules, so Jules had a shower with one of the children. I took the other. I gave Jules another one of our little packaged bags. I said, "This is Noah's change of clothes." Gave him the bag, and it was quite an easy process again for us to get them changed into a new set of clothes. So certainly would recommend that. Another thing we did was obviously, one of the questions was, how many snacks did you pack? And like, how do you even go about packing them? So we actually used a similar system for snacks. So I had little sort of satchels of snacks, and in each of the sort of the snack bags, I had sort of two packs of shapes, something a little bit more savory, 2 packs of teddy bear biscuits, 2 muesli bars, 2 packs of sultanas, and I say two because I've got 2 children, and 2 lollipops, call it. And I had that in a little bag. So what that meant was, if I was like, the kids are hungry, I could pull out one of our snack bags, and I had a variety of options that they could choose from that snack bag. And I actually put all of these little snack bags. I honestly think I had, I don't know, call it 15 of what I just mentioned to you, like times 15. And I had this canvas Aesop bag that I got from Aesop when I went last time, and I put all these snacks in, and I just sort of held it over my shoulder. So even on Instagram, you'll probably see a photo of me, us at the airport, and there's this like canvas bag that I'm holding. Yeah, that's just full of snacks. I've got 2 hungry boys, and it's going to be a long trip. I'm not going to run out of snacks. So, but that is what I did. I actually, as I said, created these little snack bags, which I felt were really helpful throughout the trip. I also made sure that, obviously for our family, our kids have iPads. Everyone's different. You do you, but certainly for us, that was a critical essential. It enabled us to be able to, for example, sit at a lounge in Doha with 3 hours to wait for our next flight, and the kids would either, watch their iPad, or we also packed a whole heap of coloring books. And we packed Uno because my son loves Uno. We packed this game called Princess Snap, which is another little card game. The light and easy things to take with you, stickers and magnets. We had like a little thing of magnets. So all of that was packed in our carry-on just so that we had enough to keep them entertained. The boys we found were exhausted by the time we got to Doha, and they just sat in the lounge and watched their iPads. And I was like, mate, this is survival. No problem. You do you. Jules and I had a champagne. Everyone's happy. So that was really good. But I made sure that the iPads and the laptops were situated at the top or easily accessible from our carry-on. Because you know what it's like. You get to the security checkpoint. Fortunately, in Australia, we didn't have to remove all our technology, but often in many countries you do. There's nothing worse than having the technology at the bottom of your bag and you're stressing, and the kids are, trying to get through this security check, and you've got stuff everywhere. So just being really deliberate, I guess, as to where you're putting these items. Might sound a little bit anal retentive, however, really helped me. So I'm just giving you my experience. Someone said, how did the kids go with sleeping on the plane? So I'll talk more to the plane in the next ep, but what I will talk about, because this ep is all about what to pack when you're traveling. So one thing that we could not live without, and I should mention they have not sponsored this. This is purely my recommendation. And I should mention all of our sponsors, I only really bring sponsors on where I'm obsessed with their products. So either or, but Cushy Kids Pillow is the one that we use for our children. And it was a godsend, because I remember 2 years ago when we traveled to Europe. I come here a bit, as I mentioned previously. My mum is Greek, and so we have a lot of family in Greece, and so therefore my parents spend a lot of time here, and so we travel a fair bit to Europe for that reason. Last time, I remember 2 years ago when we had our 2-year-old Charlie and our 3.5-year-old Noah, Jules and I spent most of the 20 whatever hour trip on the edge of our seat. We had like one of those middle row seats, 4 seats on the edge, so our children could lay like directly straight over, over us, over these 4 seats, and they could sleep, right? And we're like, literally, I think I did my back after that trip, because I was like, that was a mess. But my kids aren't going to sleep straight in a seat, and so we just lay them horizontal, and then of course the parents pay for it. So we really looked into, okay, this time around, what can we do? Our boys are even bigger now. So what are we going to do with the sleep situation? I don't want to have a crook back again. And also, I just knew that, yeah, I just knew that there had to be a better way. So we did look at a few options. I know that there are these cushions that a lot of people are using where the kids, you put them, I guess, where your, where the food tray comes down is where you would lie the additional pillow that you blow up. And essentially what it means is that your child could be on their chair, but essentially lie, sort of lie towards the food tray back into their chair and kind of lie that way and flat. But that only works for certain ages and only on certain airlines. We were flying Qatar and they did not allow for us to put a cushion where, as I said, that food tray drops down, like that. You couldn't do that. So we were like, okay, we need another option. So Jules, my husband, who loves investigating all things travel, really found the Cushy Kids pillows. So we blew them up on the flight. So it's great because obviously that you blow them up when they're not blown up, they take up, I don't know, I'm going to put my fist out and say 2 fists. Like it's quite small, right? They crunch right down. And we blew them up and placed them at the back of our children. And it kind of was like a halo around them, if that makes sense. So they were able to, and we didn't blow them up fully because initially we did them and they felt really awkward. They're like, what is this puffy thing behind me? I can't lean on it. Like, what is that about? And then we took some of the air out and they were able to almost like adjust their body and like sink into this big sort of halo pillow. And they loved it. If you check out my Insta, I've got a few reels up of our travels. That one where I'm talking about traveling on a plane, you'll see the cushy pillow. And honestly, the kids then, were able to very easily fall asleep in them because they felt comfortable. And rather than lean direct on us, they were leaning into their pillow, which had support from left to right. So as I said, that is a pure recommendation based on my experience. The Cushy Kids pillow. We, as the parents, use the Go Neck Ostrich pillow. Again, they are not sponsoring this episode. So however, it is something that I feel obligated to tell you all about. And that was fantastic because, sometimes you get those neck pillows and your head can kind of flop to the left or flop to the right or flop forward and you're like, oh, this is not really doing me justice. This was fantastic because it wraps around your neck and there's this like, there's like a sticky thing, right? That you stick it together. So it essentially covers your whole neck. And if your head falls forward, it almoys keeps your head sort of in place. Or if it falls left or falls right, your head can't go too far. So it was absolutely fantastic for what we were after. So we had the kids in the middle seats with their big pillows. We had our pillow and actually we were quite fortunate. The kids did sleep a decent amount on both flights. Maybe we were just lucky. However, I would say that they would absolutely be packing essentials. The other thing, people are asking, okay, so what did you bring on your carry-on luggage? Outside of the pillows, the colouring books, the activity fits for the kids, the snacks and the change of clothes, we also had nappy pull-ups because we knew, and our boys still wear pull-ups to bed. Noah's transitioning out of them at the moment, but however, always good if they fall asleep to have a backup. So we did the pull-ups specifically because we knew that sometimes, you know what it's like in an aeroplane bathroom, they're tiny, right? And two of you are in there and you're trying to get your kid changed and you're like, don't touch anything, but they touch everything and you're like, oh my God, the germs, and it's just awful and it's gross and you're just like, I need to get out of this place. I can't even breathe. So I was like, I need to minimize my time in these airplane bathrooms as much as possible. So we got our kids changed into their pajamas, call it, when we're like, this is time for sleep. We got them changed into their pajamas and immediately we used the pull-up nappies because it was just the easiest thing to access and to put on them whilst they stayed in their seat, right? Because we were sort of in that middle row, so we easily got them changed. Had we not had pull-up nappies, actually our boys use them anyway, but had we not, there's that whole thing of like you trying to get the kid to lie down so you can get the sticky thing so you can stick it on properly, and it's a lot harder to navigate. So I would suggest if your little ones are in nappies, the pull-ups were a godsend for us. Then obviously we took our drink bottles for the kids. You just empty them at every security checkpoint and refill them. Most airports will have the water, which is fantastic. I made the mistake of not doing that for my trip to America. I remember on one flight and I paid, I don't know, like 15 Australian dollars for an Avion bottle of water. Like it was ridiculous. So Yeah, so definitely the water bottle on hand is critical. I said Avion bottle of water, and I'm not actually even sure that that's what it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean. And so the other thing, obviously, is all the medical. So we didn't have much medical wise, but we did. I was like, okay, cool. We need Panadol. But then I'm looking at all the Panadols, and they're all over 100 mils. Now, it might be okay to take that on because it's for kids but I was just like, I can't be stuffed being stopped at checkpoints and then they're like, it's over 100 mils and I have to explain it's for my children and whatever. So I thought, what other options do we have? And I went to Chemist Warehouse and they had these chewable Panadol tablets, I guess, or like they're kind of like lollies and it said like strawberry flavor. And I thought to myself, okay, that's good. I'll grab some of those. We haven't actually used them to date, but just a hot tip for those out there who have kids who are that little bit older, and you're thinking, oh, they might be able to sort of chew on a lolly or something. It is an option that we've taken with us, and then it avoided us having to sort of, as I said, be stopped at the checkpoints because we've taken a bottle of liquid that is over 100 mils through it. So the other thing I did, so that sort of carry on, and I feel like that, and so essentially what we had was a little carry-on, little luggage suitcase, which was great. I had my handbag, which I leaned on my suitcase, and then I had the bag of snacks. Jules had a little backpack, and with the water bottles, situated in there, and all those bits that we spoke about, and that was it. And we had sort of free hands to be able to hold our children's hands as we walked through. And the one thing I did have with me though was also snacks easily accessible in my handbag. So that was because you know what it's like, you're waiting in lines a lot as you go through airports. The kids are getting a bit restless, and I'd go, here, eat chocolate. It's not again, you do you, but for me, I was like, and that, or have this lollipop, and it gave them something to be distracted over. Or here's a pack of sultanas, and then they're sitting there focusing on eating the sultanas versus, having an argument between each other. So I felt those snacks that was so easily on hand, as well as having that whole snack bag on my other shoulder, was critical. For those of you who are traveling through airports with, call it a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, a lot of people have sort of said, have you used a leash before? Which is essentially a little, I guess like think a dog leash, but that goes around their neck. This is like a child leash and it goes around their wrist and you hold the other end so that they can't take off on you. My answer to that is yes, I have used them before. I used them in our previous trip where our little Noah loved to get away from us and explore. And I was like, I'm going to lose this kid. Like, he will get lost in airports. And so we did use it for that reason. He actually the joke was on us in the end with the leash, because it often just like do loops around us with the leash on and then like tangle me up in the leash and all of that. But fundamentally, did it help? Yes, it did help. And it just helped appease my stress around losing my child, because Charlie was in the travel pram and Noah was with the leash. And I just knew where my kids were at all times as I'm rummaging through my handbag trying to get my passports out. For example, at the desk, I'm not having to look everywhere for my children to make sure they're with me. So I think my recommendation is, if it's age appropriate, now a 5-year-old, like, he gets it, he doesn't need a leash. But for those younger, if it makes sense for you, then absolutely do that. We did have a number of people look at us as we were walking, because this kid's got this leash on his wrist and they're like, oh, how lol is that? But I was like, yep, just smile and keep it moving. So that worked for us. Someone mentioned, did you take a travel pram or a cot or a car seat or anything like that? We certainly have in the past, where our kids are at an age where they don't need that, but we had the yo-yo travel pram, which was amazing. It meant that we could essentially take it on the plane with us, fold it up and pop it in our overhead compartment. We took the Baby Beyond travel cot, which was also critical. I don't think we could have lived without it. It enabled our child to basically be in the same bed every night, regardless of where we were traveling to. I think it gave him a level of comfort. So I know there are amazing travel cots out there, but certainly that was the one we used and we swore by it. That just went into, obviously, the oversized luggage compartment when you're at the aeroplane. You just check that in. We have never taken a car seat. We did have a booster this time around that we hired from the car rental place, and that was fine. That's all we needed for Charlie. So that's sort of my thoughts on those sort of key items. I'd say the bigger items that the travel pram, the travel cot, absolutely essential. And I guess I'll finish on the final question. So, are there anything that you forgot to bring from Australia that you wish you packed? So, look, I one thing that we brought, which I probably haven't mentioned yet, which I want to mention now, is nappies. We find that the European nappies or the international nappies are not as high quality. They can cause leakage. You need to change them a lot more frequently. So we bought a ton of Huggies nappies with us, those pull-ups I was talking about, and lined our bags with them as well. We also, what did we forget? Oh, we forgot when I got to the airport, I was like, oh my God, I forgot to bring the antihistamine drops that we often give the kids if they get like mozzie bites and they're constantly wanting to scratch them. Charlie, my youngest, has very sensitive skin and often gets heat rashes and things. So we forgot the drops. And then as we're walking through Melbourne International Airport, there is no pharmacy, or certainly none that we saw. So we had to go and get them in Athens Airport. Thankfully, there was a pharmacy there. The other thing that we forgot, which I would encourage everyone to take just in case, is travel sickness tablets or drops for children. We, as I said, had a very sick child on the aeroplane with Noah throwing up, and I had no travel sickness tablets, and we just had bags and bags of these paper bags where he's just throwing up in, handing them over, and to the air hostess asking for more, and I had nothing to give him until we got to Athens Airport and were able to get our travel sickness little liquid that we provided him. It helped. We had a 4-hour drive, as I said, to the beachside town which we were staying in, and it was a very windy coastal road, so induces some travel sickness. We gave him the travel sickness liquid prior to leaving, and then he basically was fine for the trip, but in the last 5 minutes before we arrived, decided to vomit in the car without giving us any heads up, so we didn't have time to give him a travel sick bag to vomit in. So that's a story for another day, but yes, I would certainly recommend, even if you think you don't need it, better to have it on hand, some travel sickness tablets. Right, I hope that's helpful to all of those listening. As I said, I'll come back with a lot more tips for you in the upcoming episodes. For those of you who have gotten something out of this episode, I would absolutely love it if you're able to leave us a review and a rating. It enables us to reach more people. And follow us on Instagram as well. We are very active there. Our handle is @parenthoodpod. Catch you again next time. Bye.